Have you ever met the connector? Well, he ponders, he helps, he creates, he writes, he speaks. He basically connects people and brings them together. I speak about Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group. At PSANDALLMARKETINGGROUP.com, you will receive an assembled group of Paul's contacts and connections that cross into many sectors of life. Please contact Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or PSANDALLMARKETINGGROUP@gmail.com if you are in the market for a wide array of services. Again, please contact the connector, Paul Solano, at 617-240-4130 or PSANDALLMARKETINGGROUP@gmail.com with any questions. And now, here's Paul Solano, the host of Paul Ponders.
Welcome to Paul Ponders. My name is Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com. Thank you for joining me for my foray into podcasting. It is great to be collaborating with my friend and associate Chalonzo Amos of PodPro Entertainment to bring you some fun, exciting, and informative podcasts. For many years, I've been referred to as the connector, or in Greater Boston circles as the connector. With PSANDALLMARKETINGGROUP.com, I've created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please sit back and relax and listen to today's podcast. If you are driving or operating heavy machinery and just listening, then please just listen and stay focused on your task at hand. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy my ponderings. Let #PaulPonders begin.
Greetings. How is everyone doing today? It's #Paul Ponders with another exciting episode brought to you by PodPro Entertainment. #PodPro Entertainment. Techie Talonzo in the control booth behind the curtain. Thank you, Techie Talonzo, for doing a great job with all these great podcasts that we have been dropping across America, across the world, around the world, wherever. And I want to thank you for rating, reviewing, subscribing, and really just checking us out and just checking out all the interesting podcasts that we do, in fact, put out every 2 weeks. I want to give a special thanks to Mr. Scott Albertson for constantly promoting through his project142.org, scottalbertson.com. That's Scott Albertson, Scott with one T, and Albertson, S-O-N. If you haven't checked out Scott's website or the project142.org, I do encourage you to check that out because Scott really does a great job in cross-promoting, promoting very interesting nonprofit organizations and also for-profit organizations. And Scott is a connector, like I am a connector through the PS&All Marketing Group. So again, thank you so much. So being part of a network of podcasting and all, I happened to meet through my podcasting venture a very interesting person who is based out of the Philadelphia area. And this episode is going to focus in on my guest, Miss Shelley Wolfe, a nationally recognized executive media practitioner and experiential learning guide with over 25 years worth of experience with Toolbox Entertainment. Shelley, welcome.
Thank you, Paul. Pleasure to be here today.
Absolutely. It's really great to have you on. You're in Philadelphia. I'm in the Boston area right here, and we're able to connect via this wonderful way of podcasting. And you have just a tremendous amount of podcasting experience and just work with various forms of media. So why don't you tell our listeners all about what Toolbox Entertainment is about?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. Toolbox Entertainment is a nationally recognized organization that focuses on multimedia. We have a collaborative group of individuals that works with all different types of businesses. We predominantly focus with nonprofits and public access stations across the country to really help them understand volunteer retention, staff retention. We do a lot of work with educators, like helping them to build out multimedia spaces and really helping to design curriculum ideas of bringing media into the classroom, whether it's through math, history, science, and helping people understand the importance of arts and really utilizing it all through their lives. So
That's incredible. But do you go into various cable systems and do consulting for them?
we do, yes. So we offer consulting. I've had the opportunity to work with different organizations across the country. We may do different needs assessments. We may do different reviews of curriculum, for example. We may do some strategic planning. So it's really dependent on what the client needs. And part of Toolbox that makes us unique is that, we listen to what your needs are. And then between our folks, we really create a very unique, direct way of working with you. So it's very customized to what your needs are. So, you may say, I'm really looking for someone who's got a cinematic background in photography or, want to bring more of podcasting into a space, so that our team, we'd look at who really, focuses on that area and bring their expertise to the table. So it's really about bringing our expertise and lending a space where it's, again, we're creating a very customized platform for you and tools for you, no matter what type of organization you are. So whether it's a nonprofit, an access center, or whether it's a for-profit business, we are definitely here to support the individual unique needs. And I think so many times people get stuck in their way of, here's a cookie cutter solution, and there is no cookie cutter solution to everyone's problems. So
That's fascinating. Now, tell me, what is the impact of AI, artificial intelligence, these days?
Yeah, a great question. AI is really a way to enhance a lot of the work that people are doing. We find so many people have fears of it. I will be one to admit I had a major fear of it at one point, and I had to be talked into it. However, for me, it's really understanding how it can be used in a very positive way and how it can enhance your timing and work. So I think, it's really important for organizations to find out how it's going to benefit their business instead of seeing it as a deterrent or having employees feel like it's going to take over their jobs. I really think it's an impactful way for us to look at how do we utilize it and enhance your organization, but also work with your employees to help them understand how it can help better them, whether it might be writing, just as simple as writing an email to writing a letter and helping them to get ideas out. A lot of times I find, you might have some ideas, but you're not really sure how to write it. Maybe you throw in those ideas and you kind of get something. The thing is with AI, you have to write very specific prompts in order to get it to give you specifically what you might be looking for. And, AI, again, the three of us could, or two of us could, put in a cue, and each of us are going to pick some sort of different cue that we might have. So, for example, if we said, hey, what is it like to take a trip to Antarctica? We may word that very differently, right? Like you may say, I want to take a trip to Antarctica. What would that look like? So just based on the wording, the AI is going to give different responses.
Wow, that is absolutely fascinating. We might as well use that as a segue to our past conversation about your recent trip to Antarctica. Is that how that came about? You just typed it in and an AI brought you to Antarctica?
No, but that's a good idea down the road to see where my next journey will be. I actually, I love traveling. Since a very young age, I always dreamed of traveling the world. And my goal was by the time I was 60, I would hit every continent and every country. Not sure that that's going to happen. Fingers are still crossed. But I had a friend last year who I had actually traveled with to Kenya about 2 years ago. And she and I had been talking, and she knew I love to travel. And so she reached out. She said, hey, I booked this cruise, and it's going to take us through Antarctica. And it's a very reasonable. And would you like to join me? Because I don't know anybody else who would be as crazy as me to go to Antarctica. And I said, why not? Let's go.
Wow. That is fascinating. So where do you, how do you get to Antarctica from here?
Well, we actually took a ship. We took a cruise actually, but we started in Buenos Aires. So it was really fantastic. We, flew into Buenos Aires, New Year's Day actually this year, and started there. We spent about 8 days in Buenos Aires. And from there, it kind of took us out to Puerto Madryn, Argentina, which was just, again, phenomenal. I highly recommend those areas as well in South America, just absolutely beautiful, and the people are just absolutely amazing. And then in Puerto Madryn, what we did is we got a chance to go out and start to see the penguins and, start cruising the waters and stuff like that. And what was really eye-opening, and I think for myself, and I think many that go to Antarctica, is or on your way, you don't really think of penguins living on dry land and just being into the water. So actually, there's certain penguins that actually burrow into the ground. And so they're kind of like almost like in a deserty type of area. And then they go out and float into the ocean. So that was really unique and different. And then we went down to Port Stanley, down through the Falkland Islands, and had a chance to go through all of that. Again, just absolutely phenomenal. And then as we continued to cruise, we went through the Gerlache Strait, and so, thinking about times of Darwin and like what that looked like. I mean, it's, going back, one of my things has always been wanting to go Galapagos and see the natural wonders of animals that have always existed. So, that's still on the list as well. But going through that area and just seeing nature at its own and experiencing the waters. I mean, we hit some like 50 and 60 foot waves. There were some areas we were not able to go into, but we did go up into the areas of like Paradise Bay and Charlotte Channel and the Elephant Island area off Cape Horn there. So, just absolutely phenomenal. Saw all types of whales, humpbacks, grays. We saw lots of penguins everywhere. And then the idea of icebergs, like, right, as we were coming in and out and around through that area and down through Ushuaia. So Ushuaia, for most people don't realize, is actually the end tip of the world, the furthest down. So from the very tip of where you go to the mailbox and you mail your letter from the end of the world, you actually look across and it's only 200 miles out to Antarctica. So it's really right there. And so the ship dropped us there first, and then, we continued on down. And as we hit that, luckily we were able to spend a few nights in some of these places, which was really awesome as well, just getting to experience life in, South America and the end of the world, which was pretty awesome. So
that is pretty fascinating. Now, you must have a tremendous amount of pictures.
I do. I think what's really exciting is trying to have the time to go through the photos. So, when we first saw our very first iceberg, I think that's another thing most people don't realize. And if people have been to Alaska, the icebergs actually really come up out of the ground. So like they're like very high up and they're very like pointed and that sort of thing. And there's not a lot of the iceberg underneath, where going down into Antarctica, 90% of an iceberg is actually under the ground, and these huge phenomenal ice scapes, which are really almost flat and sharpened off. And I'm not sure how that happens with the weather. I guess it's the weather and the winds. Pictures of the icebergs are just phenomenal, and the colors. And I think because there's not a lot of travel down through that area, it just creates and keeps the intensity of the coloring and the blues and the whites shining, shall we say. I mean, it was just, the pictures are amazing. And to look at the icebergs and to think that 90% of that's still under the water, and what you're seeing above water, and the natural carvings and cavings that come out of it from just the weather and animals. We saw icebergs that had holes through it that looked like beautiful arch doors and domes and stuff. But, the problem is so much of it's melting, climate change is happening, and, we're losing so much of that. So I feel very blessed to have been able to take this opportunity to go down and see a lot of this. Unfortunately, we did not get into Point Uranus, which is right off the side where Chile is. And because the waves were so high, but our captain, he actually took us further up into smaller straits that existed. And again, was much closer to the Galapagos and those areas where, again, were different Darwin's passages, but you could only go into a certain part and then you would have to come back out because the passageway is so narrow.
Whoa, that's incredible. Now, how did you find the people when you were traveling? Were the people friendly? Was it kind of sketchy in some areas?
Yeah, very, very friendly. I mean, unfortunately, I did have an unfortunate situation when I was in Chile. Almost got my phone taken out of my hand. So, I've traveled to 39 countries, and, it was really the first time I had ever experienced something like that. So, I feel very lucky in that sense. But, I think I felt very safe. There was never a time where I really felt unsafe. We were two women traveling by ourselves, and besides being on the ship with people. But what was really unique on our ship was it was actually a ship of people who were traveling around the world. So this was a 266 or 67-day trip for them, and they were going around the world. So 700 of them were on the ship before we even got on there. And there was like 400 of us that got on. So it wasn't a large amount of people on a really large ship. So it was really intense and exciting to also listen to people who were traveling and who had just given up living in, their home for a year to be on a boat and to travel and to see the world. Was very intriguing and lent a lot of excitement and experience as well. But when we landed into, let's say, Ushuaia or Buenos Aires, it's no different than living in America. I mean, just very friendly people and people willing to help. I'd say the one thing that I love about traveling is we probably spend a lot less, as Americans, we spend far more time on digital electronics, where when traveling to other countries, what I appreciate is that people really take the time to enjoy what's around them. And so to be in that nature and natural state and, being really aware of your surroundings was really awesome to spend time going up and climbing mountains. And we went, in Chile, for example, we went to lots of parks. There was lots of artwork everywhere. We went to a town called Valspario or Valparaiso, depending on how people want to say it. It's art everywhere, just beautiful, beautiful murals everywhere. Just phenomenal pieces of art based on steps, on walls, inside of buildings. And so just to be surrounded by like such talent, right? And that artistic ability. Or if you take someplace like Buenos Aires, everything was about Eva Perón and, but it's like you could spend so much time just spending time having Argentinian wines and their steak. And, you ask about how are the people. It was really interesting because we went to a restaurant. People don't eat till 10 o'clock at night, right? So like 10 o'clock at night is like the busiest time and people are starting to have like full steak dinners. So we were literally, we were trying to get into a really nice steakhouse. And, after driving around for about 20 minutes, we had a really wonderful Uber driver who got us to an amazing restaurant. And it was called Jesus. And we had, 5-star course dinner. And it cost us $60, and that was with wines and drinks. The sommelier came out and brought us beautiful wines. And the waiter had said, he's like, I work 7 days a week, and he was still smiling. And it was just, there was this sense of pride and this sense of love for what they were doing and excitement. And it was really awesome to see and to experience that. Again, things that people sometimes I think we take for granted in America of like, other countries, I find, they're really living to live. And then, the work is part of it, right? But it's not living to work and then trying to enjoy life. So, there's something always very refreshing about that as well.
That is absolutely fascinating. Now, tell me, you mentioned you've been to 39 countries. What are your, not to put you on the spot, but what are your top 5 countries that you've enjoyed visiting the most?
At least you asked for 5. It's hard to pick one, but
Exactly.
even 5 is hard. But, I would definitely say Kenya. I really enjoyed Kenya. I loved being in the Maasai with the local people and being in the villages and spending time with just, again, nature. I mean, seeing an elephant 500 feet from you or a zebra or, it really felt like you were living in National Geographic. So I would say Kenya. I loved India. Most people would be like, what? But I absolutely loved India. I thought it was just absolutely beautiful. The people were amazing. We had a wonderful time. There's so much of India still to see, so I can't wait to go back. Just like, Africa as well. There's just, tons more to see. But I would say those are top 2. I loved Cuba when I went to Cuba. Like I had, again, just the people were phenomenal. And then the sad part is, right, like it's still pretty much because of the leadership really stuck in a time warp. But to be there and it was just with the cars, but the friendliness of the people, like we were with our host family and it was New Year's Eve and the family knew that a colleague of ours was at another family's house and they were like, made sure to like bring everybody together and just were all about bringing the people together. So I'd say Cuba, Berlin is one of my favorites, and then probably Sevilla. I would probably say Sevilla as well, Spain. So.
Wow, that's a very quick response to all those countries you've been to. So bucket list. Continents, you're almost there. You've hit, 5 out of 7 continents?
Yeah, well, I've just got the last one to go to is Australia.
Australia, okay.
So, yeah, so that's, on the list. I'm really dying to go to Iceland. I really, that's definitely on my list. And, my next goal is probably definitely, I really want to spend some time going through like Vietnam and Singapore and Thailand and Nepal. So, I don't know. There's a whole world to see, and it's hard to pick which one. But I know that like when it presents itself, I'll know.
That is great. That is absolutely fascinating. And this is all part of your Toolbox Entertainment network, right? Where you're all over the world.
We're all over the world. And, about a year and a half ago, part of me going to India was I actually am a tour guide as well. So I provide tour guide services. So that's part of Toolbox's offerings. So yeah, I was able to lead a tour in India and go through Delhi and Varanasi and Bangdahar and all them. And that was on behalf of Art for Elephants. And that was just really an amazing opportunity. And I hope to be able to lead some tours again in the future.
Wow, that is absolutely fascinating. So how do our listeners get in touch with you? Do you have a website?
Yeah, they can go to toolboxentertainment.com or they can reach out at it's toolboxent@gmail.com. And that's an E-N-T, so as an entertainment. And they can reach me that way. I'm also on LinkedIn, so pretty easy to find online.
That is absolutely fascinating. So basically, what was your favorite? I'm a foodie, as you know, but what was your favorite dish in Argentina?
Oh, definitely I don't even think I pronounce it right. I think it's called the olla steak, whatever they're famous for their steak, and it's buy it so you can share it with 3 of your friends because it's huge. But the steak was spot on. And I'm not even a big meat eater. So it's like, it was definitely melted in your mouth.
That and a Malbec and life is good in the hood, huh?
That's right.
That's great. Well, Shelley Wolfe, I want to thank you for joining us for this episode. And there's so much to talk about. Maybe we'll have you back in a future episode down the road for more travels and all. But I applaud you for just going out into the world and just experiencing the world. And your frequent flyer miles must be, what do you have for frequent flyer miles?
We won't talk about that.
Oh, boy.
We can say I didn't pay for a few plane tickets. How's that?
There we go. As I tell my daughters, let's not and say we did.
There you go.
That's great. Well, Shelley, again, I want to thank you, Shelley Wolfe, Toolbox Entertainment, and your email again.
Yep, toolboxent@gmail.com. And thanks for having me on, Paul. I really appreciate this.
Well, Shelley, thank you. And that concludes this episode. And check us out. And Shelley, the world traveler. #indeed.
I trust that you have enjoyed #Paul Ponders. Again, my name is Paul Solano of PSANDALLMARKETINGGROUP, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com to do some more pondering. Many thanks to my longtime collaborative friend and associate, Chalonzo Amos of PodPro Entertainment, in bringing you our fun, exciting, informative podcasts. You rock, Techie Chalonzo. With PSANDALL Marketing Group, I created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com with any questions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paul Ponders. Follow us on Twitter at Paul Ponders Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Paul Ponders Podcast. Thank you again for listening to #Paul Ponders, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, paulponders.com, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by PodPro Entertainment, #Paul Ponders lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #the new radio. Until we meet again, my friend, stay well. #indeed.